Hello fellow Minecrafters, Gearsaw Studios here. Today I'm going to show you how to build a nether bridge. Since the nether is rather treacherous and the last thing you want is to be hit off whatever small bridge you have. However, before I begin, remember, please like and subscribe, it really helps me out. So, with that, on to the tutorial. Now, before we begin building any of the three designs that you could build, we have to look at the palettes. For the basic just walking using soul speed, we're going to have a mostly deep slate palette with soul soil. For the strider based bridge, just some polished blackstone. There isn't too much you can do with one. Then for the ice boat bridge, we're just going to use the blackstone blocks and buttons, so that way it is mob proof. Now for the strider based one, it is probably the easiest of them to build, just requiring some striders, some fire resistance potions, and a place to keep the striders. However, this also leaves you relying on warped fungus on a stick. In order to begin building this though, you should just initially get your striders and just find a good area. A junction is a good way to get set off for this. So, the nether fortress is also a good spot. Just place down some blocks like this, and keep going for your desired length. Patch up any flowing lava. Now, once you have your desired point reached, if it hits land, I recommend building a strider stable from one of my previous tutorials. It's a nice way to have a good area for your striders. If not, such as a nether fortress wall, which is still an option, then just make a little walled off area that striders can't escape from. And just fill it in pretty much. There isn't too much you can do to decorate it. But the important thing is you can get down and not instantly burn up in lava. Because burning up in lava while trying to board a strider is definitely not a great way to start your nether expeditions. The reason why these aren't too tall is so that way if you need to veer off course, such as a bad ghast or you spotted a bastion, then you can just veer off course. In order to get out, you're going to have a sufficiently sized gate. So just get some fences made out of crimson or warped wood. Now, just get your striders ready. Now, with our strider ready, open the gate, board the strider, and just start whirling it around. It goes pretty slow on land, but once you're into the lava sea, you go about 4 blocks per second, which is pretty good. You can also use the warped fungus in order to accelerate its speed to about 6 blocks per second. It also doesn't consume hunger, and the risk for ghast actually hitting you is rather low. Along with that, it's pretty versatile, but it's pretty easy to get lost, or if you're in a small area of the nether, you can get completely trapped and your area is not going to be too good. So it's pretty good, but also kind of bad. It's up to you if you want this one. Now, for another design, we are going to grab our deep slate based blocks, and in order to start it off, just start placing a line of soul soil. But make sure to add a frame, and you can start it either here, or you can start it here. It depends on what you rather value, beauty or functionality. I value beauty, so I'm just going to bridge out like this with my soul soil. Now, as you can see, I've placed down the soul soil and surrounded it with deep slate tiles. You could stop here, but that presents the risk of ghasts, and the worst thing is your progress being undone, especially if you're building out of flammable blocks, very bad idea, or you're building with non-blast resistant blocks. So I recommend to keep going with your frame that you've created right here. Make it completely encompass it, and do it on the corners. Then fill it in with some deep slate bricks. Now, I did the 4 corners, added the deep slate bricks, which I recommend alternating with some cracked, and do the same with the tiles. And now we have a pretty good bridge, but there's something else that I highly recommend adding, especially if you happen to be in the Soul Sand Valley or Crimson Forest. Add some lighting to the top, and make sure that it's rather consistent. As in, it's okay if it's a block or 2 off, even though that might trigger someone's OCD, but make sure that it does not get too low of a light level, because that will cause some mobs to show up, and the last thing you want is to just die in the tunnel that's supposed to be safe. So make sure to light up your tunnel if you are in the Soul Sand Valley or in the Crimson Forest. Although this mainly applies to people who use Elytras, which means pretty much everyone, I recommend adding the occasional hole in the ceiling. And it's okay if it counteracts a lantern and just makes an area dark, because you can just place that back. The reason why I recommend doing this is so that way you can fly in and make sure that you have easy access to your tunnel. Although it does increase how dangerous the tunnel is, it's still much better being able to access your tunnel at any time through the top. Then, I also recommend adding the occasional iron bars, or glass, or whatever transparent block you like, and of course add some polish at the ends of it, and now you can see out, in case you look on Chunkbase or another seed finder app like that, and realize there's something like a nether fortress in the direction you're looking and need to make an extension, or you just need to look at the terrain. I just recommend adding windows like this. Now, with this tunnel design done, with the soul speed, it can go really fast, about 7 blocks per second without sprinting, even more if you do sprint, which makes this faster than Striders. However, this also accounts for the fact that you have to eat on this, which is rather disappointing and a rather big downside. Along with that, soul speed is pretty hard to come by and damages your boots. And this also takes quite a lot of resources to build, especially if you have to dig through something, which means you're going to lose pickaxe durability. But it is rather fast, and it is very safe, probably the safest of any design. So, honestly, I'd go with this one if I was presented the choice. Now, this design was good, but there's a variant of it that is better in some scenarios and goes very, very fast. So, it's the iceberg method. And what I do initially is just build whatever you had here for this design and just port it over. Except you could probably remove the windows, because that could cause some issues unless they were full blocks. So repeat what you have here, but don't build a floor. Now, we have this area and it has no floor, which is rather annoying because you can't exactly use it. But this is because the floor is actually going to be packed ice or blue ice if you're rich. Now, the point of this is so that way you can use boats on it. So boats go very, very fast compared to the other two methods. But there's something you need to know. 1, you're going to have to clean up the sides, and 2, you might crash into these zombified piglins, which is not the best thing, especially if it was a more dangerous mob such as a skeleton, a wither skeleton if you're near a fortress, or other things. So you're going to have to make these some blackstone bottom slabs or whatever block you prefer. And you're going to also have to place buttons on the ice to spawn proof it. So just do this the entire way. Now this bridge is spawn proofed without having to do any lighting, just through the use of slabs and buttons. You can also use this knowledge on the other bridge type, and you can use the windows from that bridge type on here, but I'm not going to do that since you're going to be moving too fast to even enjoy the windows. As you can see, I am moving at incredible speeds, enough so that way I can fling myself into lava and probably die if I did not cap this off in survival. So this does have a lot of pros, being incredibly fast and pretty easy to build compared to the speed you get versus this bridge, which the speed isn't too high. However, all the packed ice you're going to need and all the spawn proofing you're going to have to do does make it pretty bad. Along with that, you're always going to have a boat, so that's another issue. So it's a good design, but it might not work for everything, because it also is very bad at turning. So with that, it's the end of today's video. If you enjoyed this video, remember, please give a like and subscribe. It really helps me out. So, with that, take care. Enjoy all that Halloween candy you might have gotten yesterday, as this video was recorded the day after Halloween. Gearsaw out.